This is a Glass Box Media podcast.
The BET thing, yeah.
So I actually listened to, maybe it was on Daily Zeitgeist. Did you listen to this too?
I don't
Where
know.
he did an interview with one of the actors from his films, like Jamie Foxx, and he was talking about like how he grew up, like the only white kid in a pretty much predominantly, and his like mother's boyfriend was black, and then her roommate was black, and that he like tries to mansplain his
Still don't
behavior.
get to say the N-word.
Yeah.
Still don't get to say the N-word.
Hell no.
But, you know.
There were things about it though that was like, I was like, okay, it does explain some of the influence.
I mean,
in
no,
his films.
I get it from a cultural perspective. I mean, like, my family's from New Mexico. Like, there's a huge, I have Native American family members. Like, there's a huge, like, Native American presence there. But, like, I still don't get to wear a headdress anytime I want. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
And I do, like, I don't know. I have a complicated relationship with Tarantino because I like his movies, but I'm like, I do feel like sometimes he writes shit just because he's like, now I have an excuse to say the N-word as much as I want. Or like, there's so much gratuitous violence against women in his films that I'm just like, I don't love.
There's a lot of violence against all humans.
There is, but there's a weird romanticizing.
We just watched Kill Bill 1 and 2 again the other night, and
there's such a weird romanticizing of
bitch.
like, and they do it in a lot of horror movies, and it bothers me, is like super up close shots of like someone being like a woman being like strangled or raped or like whatever, that I'm just like, I don't like it. But anyway.
Oh my God. That reminds me, I listened to this podcast called like Future Sex. And it had this woman on there. I don't know if you guys have heard Erica Lust. She's Swedish, but then she moved to Barcelona. And like she on the podcast explains that like in Sweden, like their sex education is very, very different from what we get here in America.
You don't say. It's not just like our sex education was
Like,
so
don't do that.
fucking weird. It was like they separated us out like like boys and girls.
Yeah.
And like told us like this is how your period works basically. And
That's
then they were
it.
like, that's it.
Exactly. Yeah, it was
end.
nothing about sex. It was mostly, I remember watching a couple videos about periods.
These are your fallopian tubes. Yeah, like that was basically it. Yeah, and you were like,
So
okay.
Thanks.
I still don't know how any of this works.
But she's concerned because like we're carrying like phones in our pockets, and so if kids aren't getting sex education in school, they're getting their sex education from porn. And if you've scrolled like Pornhub or whatever, if like kids think that that's how sex works, good Lord, it's not how sex works.
And it is often violent
That's
and
not how
like
this works.
yeah.
I know.
That's not how any of this
But
works.
you know what I heard though is that Generation Z is like the least horny. They have the least sex of like any generation
I
before
heard
them.
that about millennials though.
I heard Gen Z. I mean, I don't know. I would argue against millennials just because I am one, and I think that like Gen Z had such an access to stuff, like, you know, and like their attention spans are so much shorter because there's stuff happening all the time.
Right.
They don't have to distract themselves with sex. Like they can like do other shit.
Yeah.
You know, I
maybe
feel like a
that's
lot of
good
people
thing.
had sex because they were
You
bored.
said maybe that's a good thing.
You know?
Lowered
No, I think it
libido.
is.
Like,
I think it is.
do other things.
Don't
Yeah.
get pregnant. Do other things.
Yeah, listen to a podcast instead of
a podcast.
instead of fuck. Yeah, you know.
No, it's probably a little bit of it is probably desensitizing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you
It
just, like,
loses
watch-
its allure at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
It's lost its mystery in so many ways.
yeah,
you know,
which
like,
is kind of a bummer.
it is.
Yeah,
yeah.
'Cause it should be like, you know, I remember the very first like pornographic material I found was the Joy of Sex book in my
Oh
parents'
yes,
room.
yeah.
You
We
know what I
talked about
mean?
that. Yeah,
And it's like it was like drawings of sex, and I was like, oh. jackpot.
And like gross drawings too, like ew.
But hey, when you're going through the desert and you find like a small puddle of water, you're all about it.
Like the gift that keeps on giving.
Pre-internet or like pre-super easy access to the
Right.
internet.
Yeah.
It was like if you were up late enough to see like a really scandalous sex scene on TV, you were like,
Yes.
ooh, hot and bothered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You were like rereading those VC Andrews books, like
rewinding that like lukewarm sex scene from The Notebook like over and over again, just
Yes.
because you were just like, I don't
This
know.
is it. But that's
no
what
porn.
Erica was talking about. Like, that's obviously not her like real last name, but she's like, that's what porn is missing these days is lust. And I was like, yes. And so she makes like high quality like porn, like all of her crews, like women, they have like scripts, they have like costumes, hair, makeup, lighting, they professionally shoot it, and like it's incredible. Like it's won like a bunch of awards, but that's what she makes. She makes porn that has like lust in it.
Yeah, it's not just like utilitarian, like,
But it's also-
here to get the job done.
Yeah, and but
I
it's
feel like
also
most porn is like, we're here to get the job done. You know what I mean? Like,
she's like, it's not like Skinamax too, where it's like romantic or whatever. So, and I thought of you when she said that, because it's not like rose petals in the bath kind of stuff either. Like she does like some dom stuff, and she explores like fantasies, and it's like real sex between people, but it's also like lustful and
speaking
not
of real sex, remember
problematic.
that show?
Oh my
yes.
God, yes.
Speaking of like being young and
yes,
like,
and when you discovered
you're like, oh, okay.
you were over at your friend's house who had like HBO, and it was
Yes,
like after
yes.
10 p.m. and you're like,
here we go.
I'd sneak into the living room and put on HBO, and it was like real sex.
man.
Do you guys remember the
that
first
show is so
porn
good.
stuff that you found?
Fuck. Honestly, I remember like the first thing that really turned me on, like that was like a VC Andrews book or something.
Yeah.
I don't know that I wouldn't call
You were
it
like,
porn.
ooh, flowers in the attic.
No,
what am I
not that
feeling?
one. That
Which
was
is
gross.
so, I mean, all of them
That's
are
all
really
problematic and gross.
all
Just kidding.
VC
That's the
Andrews
only,
is like,
like-
why were we allowed to read this ever? Like, I don't understand why this woman was successful.
Yeah.
Because that shit is so
It
It's
is.
bananas.
Wild.
Yeah.
I don't remember like as far as like actual porn or anything like that. I probably found like a girly mag of my dad's or some shit. Like,
Yeah.
My dad
don't
used to
know.
keep Maxims like in the bathroom, like
just hanging out.
like
Greg.
yeah, like on the
Like-
yes. I
Like
was
it's
just
a
like,
people.
what? Yeah, I'm like, we have people coming over, like
Yeah, nope.
And even at that age, I knew I was just like, Maxim's not like you're not seeing anything,
Right.
Right.
But
But
it's
it's still, like-
when you're like, 8, you're like, ooh,
I found the good stuff.
boobs.
Boobies.
Movies. I think mine was like I was over at like a friend's house, and their parents had those like channels that they thought their kids didn't know about.
Oh yeah.
And of course, we knew all about them. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, I'll just wait for them to go to sleep and then like creep into the living room. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's only one TV that had those channels, like it
Yeah.
was back in the day.
Oh yeah.
It's like satellite.
Yes. Oh my
and
God.
there was like, the late night porn channel.
I remember. I remember now because you said that. Because you said friend's house. The first like real, like quote unquote porn I watched, like pornographic film,
Yeah.
was at my friend Kelly's house, and that's because in her basement was like. First of all, her basement was. Let me set the scene for you.
Yes.
I'm
was
picturing wood
a
paneling.
picture.
Was
Was
there wood
the-
paneling?
Shag carpet dungeon of pleasure. Like,
Oh,
for
no.
teenagers, we were like, it is the first place I did cocaine. We smoked so much weed. They had a bar that was literally just bottles.
So her
filled with
parents
water
were
at
the
this point.
cool parents.
No, her parents were like
Oblivious.
no, I don't think that they were completely oblivious. I just think that I don't know. I don't know what the answer is here. I don't want to say they didn't care, but I think that they also were like,
If we don't see it,
I think that they drank a lot too. So, I mean, they had like a kegerator that they got like a fresh keg, like I think every other week or something.
fresh
Wow.
keg every
Yeah.
other week.
Yeah, they had so much beer.
That's doing parenting.
And that was like upstairs.
That's one
that was
way.
the upstairs. That was right beside the kitchen, and they had a kegerator, and it was like a regular and like a literal regular order of keg beer.
Wow. So it was
All
like
the
a
time.
Sparklets jug. It
And they
came
all
like every
smoked.
week.
Yeah, exactly.
They left it outside.
And they smoked, so we could smoke our asses off downstairs. No one was the wiser. It didn't
Right.
matter. They had a pool table down there, a jukebox down there. They had a bar. They had a huge like sectional couch sofa, an enormous TV. And the thing that the jukebox sat on was like this like big, like, I don't know, like a credenza kind of thing. And you could pull it out like it moved. And in the back,
yeah, in high school, this would
all
have been
porn.
like,
all porn.
oh shit!
It was hidden
They
in the
had hidden
jukebox.
porn.
It was no, it was underneath like the credenza thing, and you could pull it out, and it was like the openings were in the back, all porn.
like VHS tapes.
Yep.
Scandalous.
Yeah.
Ooh, oh god! You know, I gotta say that would have been the most exciting as like all of that.
Dude,
the most
Treasure.
exciting
It was-
treasure in
it
high
was.
school. Yeah,
Dude, it was. Yeah, it
it
was
was like want to watch.
Yeah.
Watch this VHS.
I'll tell
was
you,
the
the one
dungeon. It
thing
was
that I'm
awesome.
thinking of right now after you painting that picture is you couldn't pay me enough money to sit on that couch.
Oh my god!
Jesus.
So much
I think it was
teenage.
leather. It was
like,
easy to wipe.
Oh,
oh god! Ew.
So much cigarette smoke.
It just makes me feel sticky. It's like, is that Mountain
Okay,
Dew
but like
or something
high school
else?
was
It's probably Mountain
high school was a perpetual state of sticky though. Like you know, like you're
Also,
just
too,
sticky all the
you should
time.
also know that there were 2 bedrooms downstairs too. So,
Oh, jeez.
Oh
Yeah.
shit
Man.
went down.
Dude.
There's
That-
no way those parents did not know that. Like
yeah, I got a few shame receipts from that.
Yes.
that
it was
basement.
Sodom and Gomorrah in that basement.
We all
Twice.
have that friend's house, though.
Yes.
So with the like
And
either
you don't
like
tell-
cool / oblivious parents.
Yes. And like you keep that secret so hard from
Yeah.
your own parents. You're
Yeah.
like, God,
Oh,
they
man.
shouldn't. I hope they never find out.
I remember my friend Melissa was like talking about, and I'm sure many times her dad has driven me home. My dad was like an alcoholic too, so I didn't think twice about it. But I remember her getting so upset one time talking about how Kelly's dad drove me home and he had been drinking. Like she was, and I'm like, oh, is that no?
That's not normal. Oh.
Okay.
Oh, got
now,
it.
Now
Got
I
it.
know. Okay, we're on the same page.
Yeah, duh. That's weird.
That was like 80s, though. It was just like, well, don't drive completely drunk.
How did
Just a
any
little.
of us make it out alive? Seriously,
know,
like
dude.
I mean, my parents didn't
Nobody had
drive
helmets.
like without drinking, but like yeah, the seat buckling
Oh, shit.
protocol was
Girl.
definitely like not.
You didn't grow up in the age of the fucking
Station wagon with
where you
no
sat
seatbelts.
facing outwards. You'd flip off the people behind you or like wave at them. No fucking seatbelt.
Well, my mom, like looking back, I'm like, God, that was unsafe. Like my mom would she would let us sit in the bed of the truck.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, like, and
Yep.
like drive around town in the bed of her pickup truck when we were like kids, like
Yeah.
small kids, pretty much, you know?
I specifically remember being left in the back of hot cars.
Oh God, yeah.
What,
My
she
mom
would,
would
like,
crack the
run in?
window, like
Yeah,
you're,
crack
like
the
you're
window.
you know.
And just sitting back there as like a little kid, like fucking dying.
The back of your thighs, you're having to like squelch them off. You're like,
because there's that like sticky pleather seat.
Yes. I think we had like a Colt Vista at
Yeah.
the time.
What is that? I remember my dad had a Datsun truck, pickup truck. And I remember too that he like built his own, like he took off like it wasn't like the regular bed of a pickup truck, and he built like these things so he could like, it was, yeah.
My mom and I had kind of like a wild conversation. I just got back from being home and like we did this like international movie night for my brother's nonprofit, and we were watching The Red Balloon, which is like a classic, you know, French
Yeah, classic movie.
And it's good and it's beautiful. But at the end of it, I was like, this kid is like 7 and he's just walking
does whatever.
all over Paris by himself. And there's just like gangs of like other 7-year-olds like walking around. And I was like, God, that shit's dangerous. That's how you get kidnapped. Like that's how you get murdered. And my mom's like, I don't know.
Different times.
No.
I think it's fine. And I'm like,
different
what?
times.
When I went to Paris like a couple years ago, we saw kids like 7 years old like riding the bus themselves, like by themselves.
Wow.
Why?
To school and just like walking by themselves.
My mom was kind of making the argument that she still like low key thinks it's fine, and I'm like, no. I mean, no.
It could be too. I'm like, you know, the different stats of like crime in Paris, France versus like anywhere in
Well,
America.
I mean, I also get that,
you
like,
can't even go to a fucking garlic festival without getting shot.
that's true.
man, yikes!
But I mean, I also feel like it's just a change in mentality, because I listened to an episode of the podcast Invisibilia where they talk about fear, and they were talking about how whenever this guy was like a little kid, there was a reporter basically who was just like, we know more about what gorillas do when they're alone, because we like watch them and like learn their behavior, than what like children do when they're alone. So it was like the 70s. And so like he like very like sneakily, this sounds creepy, but I mean, it was for science, like followed around like little kids, like 6-year-olds, and like watched how they interacted with each other, like in like, so that he could
In the wild.
In the wild. Yeah. And so they went back and they interviewed that guy, like as an adult. He lives in the same neighborhood, and he was like, I would never let my children, I don't let my children like roam at all, like alone. But the statistics have actually gone like down. Like the crime statistics have actually gone down. So it's actually safer than it was when you were roaming out by yourself.
Sure.
You know, so you could let your kids roam, but we don't, because we're all terrified all the time because of the news cycle.
Yeah.
Because we're exposed.
We're exposed. I mean, well, and I think true crime has really hit like a strong peak too, where we're all like immersed in it.
And like how many of those My Favorite Murder episodes started with like little Sally was 5 years old and walking to the corner for some cigarettes, you know, for her mom.
Oh
and
my
then
God,
something bad happened.
I did that all the time. There was a corner store like a block and a half away. And be like, go and get, cigarettes and blah,
milk
blah, blah.
or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And like at 6 years old, they'd sell you cigarettes.
All right.
Yeah, let's go with problem number one. Like they're selling a 6-year-old cigarette.
Yeah.
Well, they're for mom.
Yeah,
exactly.
Clearly. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, like, why else are you buying milk?
Because you're trying to make it seem normal, like a normal purchase. Have you ever done that where like you're buying like lube or something and you're like, I don't know, throw some like carton of eggs in there and make it look like lube and eggs. Make it look normal.
Exactly. I'm like
orange juice,
like condoms and coffee creamer.
Just a rag,
like, just so you don't feel like I came here just for this thing. Like,
I'm like, what else do I need?
I had to do some shopping.
I remember when my son was this was like a year or two ago, and he's like, hey, he's like, I'm really low on funds this month. Do you mind sending me like some groceries or something? So I like Amazon primed him some like groceries, and in his order I got like this enormous assortment of condoms. Just regular,
like, be safe.
Just reg groceries.
Like,
and
I am
be safe.
Not ready to be a grandma.
And not yet.
Not yet.
I know you're a full grown adult and you can go do this and buy those, but you're gonna have a lifetime supply.
There you go.
It's like 100 count.
That's amazing.
In bulk.
Assorted. Costco
condoms. Kirkland brand.
Kirkland brand condom.
Oh my God. Oh. Whew. Yeah, dude, there is like I definitely judge a guy by his condom choice.
If it was Kirkland.
If it was Kirkland, I'd be like, why are you trying to cut corners here, man?
This is not the place.
Not the place.
This is not the place where you
much
should.
sex that you got to get Costco.
I'm like, I got a Louis Vuitton pussy. You ain't putting Kirkland up in there.
Oh shit! But here's the other thing. On the other side of that, you're like, okay, Magnum. honey.
Dude, the amount of guys that have pulled out Magnums that actually need them, come on.
It legitimately is the smallest percentage.
Legitimately.
And that can't be comfortable either. Like if you're wearing a condom that's way too big for you, don't you think
and then
that
it's
would
just
be
inside me now?
And it's just anything.
And your dick isn't, because it slipped right the goddamn fuck off. Yes. So now I have fucking condom inside me.
And you have to dig it out, and it's like
oh my God. That has never happened to me.
You've never had a condom stuck inside
No,
you?
I hope not. Like, what if it happened and then like 15 years later, I'm like, I've got this weird infection.
I feel like
I don't know what happened.
Why do I keep getting yeast infections? This is so weird.
So bizarre. Oh my God. I was re-listening to the episode from last week, and I'm still rolling my eyes about that guy that didn't know about the fucking yeast infection. That bothers
that
me.
guy
Your yeasty
is a
vagina.
fucking horrible
I
human.
know. I really want to underline that.
Have you guys ever had like you're just off your period and had that like, did I take that last
Tampon out?
I thought that was just me. And then I'm like, I dig around up there, and I always, I'm like,
I'm like, you're worried you push it further up.
Yes. And
Okay,
I'm like,
not just us. Okay.
I feel like I'm bonded again.
I mean,
Every
okay,
guy
I'm-
has like been like,
I'm
fuck
super
outta here.
paranoid about that because
Same.
like
Why?
because they hyped us up so bad about toxic shock
oh,
syndrome.
I
it's
know. And I'm
real.
like, I don't want to lose my legs.
It is real. I remember the first time someone told me a story about like toxic shock, and I didn't know about it until I was like in high school, and like someone was telling me a story about like, it was probably an urban legend, but you know, all of those went like a girl I knew, or like a girl who went to my school.
That went to my school.
Yeah, like,
She's from Canada.
you wouldn't know her.
You wouldn't know her.
But that she, like, a guy like went to go down on her and was like, whoa, because like he was like, the smell, like the stench was like rotting stench, and he was like, and then it turned out that she had like forgotten to take her tampon out and had like toxic shock because it had been in there for months. And I was like,
No.
Well, first of all, that's definitely an urban legend. But second of all, that story gave me legit chills.
yeah. So I
I'm
don't
about
think
to go to
I've
the bathroom
ever
right now and check.
I don't think
and
I've
I know I don't.
ever like felt like I've left one in there because I'm so like crazy about
Soups.
making sure they come out. Like,
Well, here's the other thing too. Did you read about that recall or whatever that when they like broke apart? So then I was worried that there was like a piece, a piece of one. So
that seems far more likely.
So I
God,
dug in there like I
Dude,
was like
you guys-
1849 digging for gold. You know,
Dude, this is
prospecting.
OB all day. Panning for gold. And these hills.
oh my
gold
god,
is
I haven't
Hills.
seen a tampon around here in 25 years.
I am just thinking in my head being a male listener.
Oh my God, they're forward 30 seconds. Like,
They're done.
So
They're
sorry,
done.
guys. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's giving them interesting insight into.
Yeah.
You just think-
when was the last time you worried about this, sir?
Honestly.
Yeah, exactly. This is being a woman, honestly.
And
Since
just
like 12 years
realistic
old.
condoms.
Yes,
This
okay,
is what
that's
where we're coming
point.
back to.
Yes.
The point is, buy realistic condoms. You're not a Magnum.
Yeah.
Although-
you know if you're a Magnum.
And buy,
You've seen porn.
Buy lubed
You know.
ones. Honestly, who's buying unlubed condoms? Why is that a thing?
Why is that a
it
thing?
a thing? I have
is
to know.
weird.
I don't know.
Why- what is
I don't
the
know.
point of
I mean,
that?
you might as well just have like a latex glove at that point. 'Cause it's like,
Ew.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's about as sexy as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that whole thing just reminds me of that one story we got from a listener where she got the butt plug stuck.
Oh man.
God, yes.
Oh man.
Oh man, if you guys have having things stuck in things stories,
Oof.
I'm down to
Oh
hear
my
them.
God.
I am.
I know.
totally am. I want to hear.
have
All right,
nightmares.
Attention, Keegan, in the subject line.
Yes.
Great.
And
Things-
I will
things
open
stuck
it.
in orifices.
Oh, speaking of Keegan, this is my worst date. That was Keegan. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
I'm Christina.
Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah. So who are we gonna fuck, marry, kill this week?
Well, because Once Upon a Time in Mexico is out now, and
In
we're
Hollywood.
all- yes, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. What did I say?
In
Mexico.
Oh, another
Different
great
movie,
film.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is out now, so I think we should do Tarantino
Leading men.
leading men or women.
Oh, okay. I like that better.
yeah, men or
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got fucking Uma
Uma
Thurman.
Thurman.
You gotta throw Uma
yeah,
in
gotta
there.
go through Uma,
So yeah, we got Uma Thurman,
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt,
Leo.
Leo. Ooh,
I like that three.
I'm intrigued.
too.
I'm here for that three. Well, I'm definitely not having sex with Leo because we've heard about him.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I know
Heard-
exactly
Oh,
what
I know
I'm
what I'm
going to
doing
do.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to do. I am going to marry Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
Just going to lock that down.
Oh my God.
I am going to fuck Brad Pitt. Hometown boy. He's from Springfield.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to fuck Brad Pitt. Still looks freaking amazing.
Oh, dude.
Looks
God, I
fantastic. And I watched Interview with the Vampire not that long ago. And I'm just like, oh,
I
So-
want to
so cute.
rewatch that movie.
Dude.
so
I
much.
need-
He's
I
got
have,
long
like,
hair.
A,
Oof.
Ooh, for
rewatch
Halloween, we should do the
list.
vampires.
Because I really want to
We do that
rewatch
already.
Ever After too, because we keep talking about
Oh my
that.
God,
and I'm
Ever
like-
After's the best.
and I haven't seen it in forever.
Oh
and
my
I'm like,
God.
oh my God, I have
Wait,
to watch
I was
that.
obsessed.
Brad Pitt's not in Ever After.
No,
No.
Oh,
but
okay. I
I'm
was
saying,
like,
but
wait.
then Interview with the Vampire is going to make it onto my rewatch
Yes,
list too.
yes.
Ever After is fucking amazing.
It was one of my favorite movies ever
Same.
growing up. I had it on VHS. I wore that VHS tape
Out.
out. You know
Me
how
too.
like, whenever you had the cardboard or the paper VHS cover, that thing
box.
was like flattened.
Yep.
It was like
Yep.
creased. Yeah, I'm going to kill Leo. Like clearly Leonardo DiCaprio is a fantastic actor.
Had a crush on him
that's-
since
it's
forever.
Not up for dispute. Yeah. And like, I loved Titanic Leo. I know that that's some either people like were really into him like at that time or not. I was, but when I hear about his personal life,
He
I'm like,
just
you
doesn't
seem like a douche.
fun.
No, and he seems like he takes himself seriously,
Super
like super seriously, and probably wouldn't fuck me anyway because he only fucks like 22-year-old
thinking the same
models, and yeah, he fucks with his headphones in.
Yeah.
I'm not, or his earbuds in.
I don't
I'm
like
not
that.
into it. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. I'm going to switch it just a little. I'm going
Word.
to fuck Uma Thurman.
Nice.
Yeah. She hot.
Can't go wrong.
Cannot go wrong there. Going to
Legs
marry
for
Brad Pitt.
days.
Yeah,
Oh,
she could
Jesus,
just wrap
right?
me around in her legs, like
Yeah. And then I'm going to marry Brad Pitt because I fucking love Brad Pitt. And I'm also going to kill
Yeah.
Leo.
Yeah. Sorry, Leo.
I'm same as you.
Yeah.
I'm down to like fuck and play with Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a blast. She could teach me a thing or two. Fellow tall girl. It's gonna be all legs.
Yep.
All legs there.
Legs on legs on legs.
Legs on legs. But yeah, I've just been in love with Brad Pitt for forever.
Ugh.
Yeah,
He's
you guys might have the
dreamy.
right call here. I'm going to stick with mine just for the sake of having like different takes, but you guys might be right.
Dude, I actually do kind of love Uma Thurman though. Do you remember that movie she did with Janine Garofalo? It was like about dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Must Love Dogs. Was that it?
Yeah, or where like
That's a
Janine
dating
Garofalo.
movie.
Yeah,
I love Janine Garofalo.
I know.
Love her.
I was like, oh, I kind of loved Uma Thurman in that movie.
Did you hear that Janine Garofalo, I think it was her, like doesn't have the internet, like doesn't use the internet?
That's
I'm like,
amazing.
fucking how?
Wow.
How do you make it to 2019
It's like
without
Anna
using the
Wintour
internet?
and her like flip phone. You know what I mean? Like
She's like, I'm never giving it up.
she's like, fuck that shit. Nah. I'm good.
Do you think we'll ever get there? Do you think there'll ever be a point where we're just like, I'm done advancing? I feel like some people do that. They're like, I'm done advancing. I'm not doing anything else.
I think they're
I'm
called
staying.
old people. They're like, oh my
I'm
god.
staying in 1997 and you can't make me move.
Yeah, I know. I'm. This is where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah.
You've seen hair on some of those people in the Midwest.
Oh yeah. Dude,
Girl, I was just there.
You're like, and how?
Yes. And how? I like to play the game when I'm in the airport in LA going to Springfield.
Who's from here?
Yeah, who's from LA going to Springfield and who is going home.
Yeah.
Like, and you can almost always tell.
oh,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah, you're like, you look like the Midwest. You're going home. And no shade on the Midwest. Listen, I had a great time.
shit.
A lot of my
We're from
friends
there.
live there. Yeah, we're from there. That's home, but that's real shit.
Yeah. It's real shit.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys want to take 5 and then we'll come back with stories?
Yes.
And we're back. Okay, so I've got the first story this week, and this one I, put it in my inbox and I didn't read it for a while. Then when I read it, I was like, oh, I'm so glad that I was the one who picked up this story. Okay. You'll see why. You'll see why. Okay. And she says it's okay to use her first name, so... She says, okay, to preface, I am 26 years old. I live in Indiana, Midwest lady. She says,
Hey.
I was married at 19 and divorced at 21.
Hey, starter marriages.
Living a whole life, yeah. My ex-husband cheated on me. I am still to this day struggling with the emotional scarring this left me. I have been off and on the dating apps for about 4 years now, and I still cannot seem to find a decent guy to start a relationship with. Recently, I matched with this guy, we'll call him Andy, on Bumble. He checked all my boxes from the start. Tall, burly, grows great facial hair, loves his mama, no kids, looking for a relationship, yada, yada, yada.
All right. Okay.
Sounds good so far.
Yeah. So far, so good.
We decide to go on our first date after about a week of chatting. We went to a local Irish pub in my hometown. He looked great in person. Everything about the first date went fantastic. We split the bill. I typically like when a guy pays on a first date or at least offers, but it wasn't that big of a deal to me at the time.
Right.
We went on a second date about a week later and it was good. We paid separately again. Not fond of that, to be honest, but I let it slide. So here's where it gets a little messy. Get ready for your red flag drinks, ladies. I
Okay.
fucking love it
Got
that
it.
this is a thing that people are putting in their emails now.
Mine's coffee today.
I guess I'm ready. I've got a White Claw
Hey.
in hand.
Yeah, no, it's 11 on a
It's fine.
Saturday?
Listen, it's
AM?
Saturday. We work hard. Okay? That's how I justify it to myself. I'm like, we work hard.
Work hard, play hard.
And also, there ain't no laws when you're drinking claws.
Oh my god.
Dude, I'm a little offended by all of that like white girl memes about White Claws because I'm like, hey man, I fucking love White Claws. What are you saying? I like that they're low in carbs.
Yeah, I don't think it's a race thing. I think I think I'm just basic.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a basic thing.
let's be real. And I like it better than rosé. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
right.
When we were texting in the beginning, I had asked him what he was looking for in meeting people on dating apps.
I'm already drinking.
He told me he was ready to settle down. He mentioned, I only want to be married one time. This raised a flag for me because I felt it was a little out of nowhere to mention something hinting at the divorce rate for our generation. Also, I have been divorced. He does not know this yet. It isn't something that I usually advertise until the whole talking about exes thing comes up. Then on our second date, he mentioned something about being a F word, not fuck, referring to someone he assumed was gay.
Oh.
I'm not going to say it. 'Cause
Yeah.
Don't like
Yeah,
that.
don't like that at all.
That raised a flag, and I immediately did a little educating and told him that term can be extremely offensive to people in the gay community, and it should not be a word in his vocabulary.
Here is
yeah,
the history.
Good
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
I explained that I have several loved ones who are gay, and I didn't appreciate him using that word. Then he used the N-word
No,
to
okay.
describe a man that he caught his ex cheating on him with.
Okay.
No. Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Bag of nopes.
Took 2 drinks to catch up on that.
Bag of nopes.
Wow.
And like a fucking like one of those big garbage bags
I know.
too. This isn't like
this is a truckload of nopes for me.
Oh.
Again, I told him he should not use that word either because it's offensive and highly inappropriate, especially coming from
And
a
you
white man.
know
and
better.
you fucking know better.
Know better.
Yeah.
You didn't need to
Honestly.
be told that. You fucking know better.
No,
Right.
it's it is kind of amazing. I was with my friend Thomas back home, and he's half Lebanese. And sometimes when he grows his beard out, he kind of looks like he could be Middle Eastern of some kind, but usually he just looks pretty white. And so people will say shit around him thinking that like,
Wow.
you're another white guy, it's fine,
Wow.
right? And he's like, actually no. Actually
Wow.
no. So I think some people feel comfortable when they're like with other white people that they're like, surely this is okay. Like you secretly,
we all think
you
the same
secretly
thing.
are as racist as me. Yeah. No. So at this point, I'm thinking maybe he's just a little ignorant and these things can be worked out if he is educated on things a bit. I was trying
bless
to give
your
him the
heart.
benefit of the doubt. That is
There's
sweet
no
of you,
benefit
but
of the doubt
also,
with
yeah.
the N-word, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's no benefit of the doubt there.
No, there isn't. Or with the F
You
word when talking about gay people. Like, you know
Raised
better
in
now.
a basement with no
Access to
human
the outside
interaction.
world. Like, you fucking know better.
know. Yeah.
You do. Last night, he came over to my apartment. He smelled like weed. He told me he used to smoke but doesn't anymore. Well, I myself used to smoke, so I know it when I smell it. I didn't say anything about it because I didn't want to come off accusatory. I personally don't care if people smoke, but honestly do not want to date someone who does. That's fine.
Yeah.
Then we were discussing this terrible date I had went on a while back, and the guy I went on the date with, not Andy's ex, should have been arrested for violent things that she had done. And Andy made a comment like, women get away with so much more than men. Women can just divorce men whenever and go find someone else. Women don't respect men like they used to. Just look at the divorce rates.
Oh God.
So, okay, we've got
I am literally
homophobe, racist,
frozen.
misogynist, like,
Yeah, he's
checking
checking
off everything.
all the boxes.
I'm actually drunk now from drinking.
I know.
And I'm drinking coffee.
I know.
Wow.
With rage.
Exactly.
I should have spoken up at that point, but I didn't. I just let it sit. This is like red flag number 4. I think it's probably even more than that. And I don't even know if it's worth the discussion. He makes a lot of blanketed comments, and these are things that affect me and are offensive. It truly stinks when someone comes off as cool as a summer breeze, and then they hit you with the homophobic, racist, anti-feminist comments. Also, who knew it was a thing to be so against divorce? It's not like I wanted my ex-husband to cheat on me and divorce me for the chick he banged.
Yeah. Oh my God, I know.
Wow.
I mean, and even if you just chose, like, you're allowed to change your mind, and you're allowed to choose.
Yeah.
Like, you're allowed to decide how you want your life to go.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's it's a fucking weird thing to be like super, super hung up on.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm very leery of people like that. They're like, no, I want a woman who once I fucking get it locked down, she can't get away. Like,
because that's
you can
the
be as
same person
shitty
who
as you
murders
want.
later because they're okay with being a widow.
Yeah, it's controlling. It's super controlling behavior. You know what I mean? Like, it's seeking to own somebody else. You know? Ugh, gross.
She said, can't wait to hear your reactions to this one. There are plenty more crazy stories from previous experiences if you want to hear some. Always.
Yes.
Love you, ladies. Cheers, Samantha.
Thank you so.
Wow.
Oh my God, man!
I know.
And there's sometimes where it's like she already tried to educate him twice. She must have decided after listening to his thing, it's like it's not even worth trying to educate. And let's just get this over with.
Right. I'm
get
just going
out,
to sit
and
through
then-
this
yeah.
and then
GTFO.
never talk to you
Right.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, which is okay. Like, you know, honestly.
Yeah, it's not your job to fucking educate somebody,
it's
and especially if you're
exhausting.
especially if you're not emotionally invested anymore.
Right,
You're
right.
like, forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when I read that, I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah,
Like,
that
we
is the
go.
perfect story.
I know. I was like,
Great.
I saw this box of red flags over here.
God,
I'm
I
still
don't-
gonna date it for 6 months.
Oh, I know.
well, I mean, and I also understand, like, she's saying she's been on these dating apps for 4 years, right? And on the surface, we've talked about this before, like on the surface, he was like everything that she thought that she wanted. And it can be really hard to like let that go when you're like, oh, finally, like I found somebody.
Oh, well, that's a perfect lead into my story then, I guess.
All right, take it away.
So I definitely know that feeling where, like, you know, you go on like a monster truck load of just bad or ambivalent dates, and then you finally find somebody that you're like kind of clicking with. And I've kind of been in that situation for the last couple of months. I've been hanging
And when you've
out.
been doing that too, I think there's something to be said about ignoring red flags.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, you're like, how bad is it? How bad is too bad?
Yeah.
You know?
Your barometer changes a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you're like, no, you want to make it fit. It's like you're a prosecutor, like, there's reasonable doubt here, but I need to make this fit the
I
narrative.
need to make this work. Yeah. Yes.
This has got to fit. So yeah, I think I've talked a little bit about seeing a guy, the captain on these episodes. So I'm going to tell a worst date story about it.
Oh,
We've
I love Christina's story time when it's
I
like a
know.
personal story.
Yes.
I'm over here
So-
like all nervous.
This was actually not the last date we went on. It was the previous one. He has had home visitation privileges for a while.
Good.
So, we were making enchiladas, and that is not a euphemism and also a euphemism. He brought over all the stuff to make enchiladas from scratch. We were having a great time in the kitchen, you know, just talking. He made like margaritas from scratch, like
Hell
juicing
yeah.
lemons and
Damn.
limes.
Shit,
and,
that is some effort.
yeah, I like roasting poblanos on the stove, like
Yeah.
all this fucking bananas
This
stuff.
is so far my best date.
I know,
Exactly.
yeah, seriously.
No, that's the thing
Mexican
is that
food.
Yeah.
every date has been like incredible. They're like long dates. They're very like involved and very thought out, and he's put a lot of effort and prep into it. So he comes over, we're like making enchiladas, and like we finally like eat the enchiladas, and then we go to bed, and it's time to eat some more enchiladas.
If you know what I mean.
If you know what I mean.
And I think you do.
Yeah. Everything is going swimmingly. Things are great. Things are hot and heavy. I'm like, I'm kind of into this guy. I'm really feeling this.
Right.
We're making out. We're naked. I'm getting really, really close, and he's whispering in my ear, which is really like turning me on. And I hear, "Oh, Beth."
Your name's not Beth.
It isn't actually.
no.
I did say what my name is earlier. I am
Yeah.
Christina.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is my worst date.
You're not Beth. Nope.
Oh,
I'm
have
not
you
Beth.
ever done that though?
Nope.
Oh, I have.
Oh, I never use names ever.
Oh, I did it.
I'm married
once.
for what, 14 years, 15
Yeah.
years.
Oh, I did
Yeah.
it once,
Still don't
and,
use names.
and it was awkward. It was real awkward.
Ooh.
You've said a wrong name?
Yes.
Oh.
Shame receipt.
Not in my current relationship.
Okay,
God.
good.
But
Thank God.
to clarify,
God.
but in my last one, I did.
Ooh,
Yeah, it was real uncomfortable. You're
like,
and then you have to play it off like, no, it's just because we were like hanging out with them earlier, and you know, like,
I didn't say
yeah,
Chris.
but yeah.
I said miss you.
So I, at that precise moment of being whispered to, had been feeling myself and was really close and froze.
Yeah, that's a
Noticeable,
immediate break.
like immediate, like record scratch.
Yep.
And so he, of course, notices and he's like, "What's up?" And I was like,
Did you just?
"What did you just say?" And he goes, "Open." Which is also a weird
Which is
thing to
really
say.
weird.
Yeah.
I don't know that I believe that. I don't know that because why?
Yeah, so here's so
I'm gonna need you to explain me what
this
you
is
wanted me
all
to
up for
open.
debation
I was
here.
pretty open
Yeah,
already.
I
didn't need instruction.
I was
Yeah.
open, but yeah, he said open.
Oh, bullshit! I don't believe
and
you.
laughed about it and was like, it became like a joke, like, oh, okay, like we're making a real Beth of the situation here. But I was like,
Oh man.
yeah, definitely nixed the vibe for me. I didn't get there.
Yikes.
But yeah.
on bikes.
Yikes on bikes.
Okay, well, do you believe him? Like, do you think he said open, or do you think he?
Do we know any Beths? Beth is not a common name.
I don't know any Beths.
Are you friends with him on Insta?
No,
Are you friends with him on Facebook?
no.
Does he have either of these things?
Yeah, we can go through his friends.
Yeah,
Like, we'll look at Beth. We'll look at Elizabeth.
And
And Lieutenant looks it up. We're on the
Yeah,
case.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know, Beth, wherever you are. Like,
Hope you're happy.
Hope you're
Cheers to you.
happy. Cheers
Yeah.
to Beth.
This one's to you.
This one's to you, Beth, because yeah.
And this next one's going out to you, Beth.
Isn't that like a Kiss song?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Beth, what can you do? But yeah, so the moral of the story is like never like anybody or trust anybody or go out on like several dates with the same person because
I mean, they could hit
just,
you with that homophobic, racist rhetoric just out
Or
of
call
left
you
field,
Beth.
or call you Beth.
Or call you Beth.
You know, no matter how good the enchiladas are.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes on bikes.
All right, so mine's kind of a long one, and this came to us from I don't know if I should say his name. I will say that it is Frito Feet.
Yes. Oh, a follow up.
I'm so excited. I loved that
The
story.
Frito
so
Feet
much.
story was excellent.
It was muy caliente.
He says he actually shared a couple stories. I'm just going to read the first one. It was a bad date. Okay. The date happened a few years ago when I was in college. I had recently gone home for the summer and was single and active on Tinder at the time. Wow. And matched with a girl who went to college near my hometown and was staying on campus for the summer. After talking for a few days, we met up for drinks one night and the date went well. So well, in fact, that she invited me back to her place to watch a movie.
Hey.
Yeah, let's get someplace. We get to her apartment, and as soon as I enter, I see that there are 4 to 5 people sitting on the couch in the living room / common area. It's one of those smaller apartments with the entryway, kitchen, dining room, and living room are all sort of one common space with like no walls separating them or anything.
Okay.
Oh.
As I'm taking my shoes off, preparing to follow her upstairs to her bedroom, I give the group the old, hello, you've never met me before, but
I'm about to bang this chick.
You know I'm about to get down with your roommate. Wave and nod.
We all know that.
I know everyone's been there for
Yep.
sure.
Howdy.
Hey, howdy.
Yep. I'm just gonna pardon me. Excuse me.
No big deal. We'll try to be quiet. It's cool. It's cool. The old wave and nod you give when you're coming to someone's place for the first time and meeting their roommates. Something that I've found never gets less awkward no matter how many times it happens. Maybe it's just me. Nope, not just you.
It's not just you.
Not
It's
just
always
you.
weird.
It's always.
And
You know what? I
also-
gotta be honest. I'm actually glad this is a guy rating in because I always feel like I thought that was a girl thing.
Oh,
No.
and as women, I think it is like it
We're like,
feels super strange.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm a slut.
Yeah, exactly.
See you guys
Pardon
in the
me.
morning with this
Pardon
makeup
me.
on, and it'll be down my face.
Yeah. I mean, and like, I also feel like the other person should really prepare you for that. Like, am I about to walk into a room full of people? Like, let me know.
Right. Yeah.
I think if you're dealing with college age,
I guess
people,
that's to be
I think
expected.
it's assumed.
You
Thank
know
God
what
it
was
wasn't her
weirder
parents.
is dorm rooms.
Yeah.
Can we have a dorm room conversation? Because
Woof.
Woo, no
yikes.
thanks. And no thank ya. Anyway, we get up to her bedroom. She shuts the door behind me and sit down on her bed and start trying to find something to watch. Now, I'm still not always the smoothest at initiating physically, especially for the first time with
You're
a
like,
new
oh,
person.
Oh, are we actually watching?
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
do you really want a Netflix and chill, or is this next Netflix and chill?
chill.
Yeah,
Like, what's happening?
But I think I've improved since this instance. In my 21-year-old mind, I thought I was purposely, playfully difficult about what I wanted to watch when she suggested something. She would eventually turn to face me and ask to just pick something.
She's like, your indecisiveness is not cute. It's not working.
Well, she says in like a playfully annoyed, flirty way. And then I'd kiss her.
Oh my God.
Instead-
I love how he like put this
Oh,
like
he
romantic
planned it all
situation
out.
in his
yeah,
head.
yeah, it's all
Oh
like,
my God. Is
Yeah.
Frito Feet, are you my soulmate?
listen.
I always do
Have
that,
you
and
met
it
my friend
never
Christina?
works. Like it
It
never,
never
works.
works.
Never
It
works.
ever.
Never
The other
works.
person never does what you want them to do.
No,
ever.
No.
But I love the romance novel you built in your head.
Also, though,
love
I
it.
love that he probably has lots of sisters who forced him to watch some rom-coms.
Oh, totally.
That's exactly what's
That
happening
is what
here.
that is. Yeah,
Oh my
because that is
God.
how it would play out in a screenplay.
It's like, I watched Never Been Kissed. I've seen this play out.
This is how it works.
Yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
Instead, she just kept suggesting things. I kept shooting them down and not offering alternatives. And we settled on baseball game. Real Casanova, right?
Oh my God.
I love you. I love you.
And a baseball game is probably the least sexy thing we
Oh
could
my
ever
God.
Perfect.
put on.
Dude,
because
the
you're not paying
amount of times-
attention to it.
I know, but the amount of times I fucked to a baseball game,
I've
Numerous.
never.
Never.
yeah, numerous. I love baseball. I love Sports Center.
Okay, Frito Feet is actually your soulmate.
Yeah. Damn it, Chris. Sorry. We sit side by side. With no signals to initiate coming from her. And I figure maybe she's just shy and I should ask directly. Not super smooth, but whatever gets things moving. I ask her if I can kiss her and she's silent for a few seconds before softly answering, no. Is that okay? I tell her it's totally fine, no problem. And we go back to watching the game. I think to myself, okay, that was kind of awkward and not what I was expecting given that she invited me back to her place,
Yeah.
taking me to her room, close the door, etc. I'll just finish watching the game, then go home. A few
Respectful.
silent minutes go by with us watching the game when I see her shudder in my peripheral vision. I look over and see that she's holding back tears, looking like she's almost on the verge of losing it.
Oh, no.
I ask her if everything's okay. She takes a few seconds to compose herself and answers, "Are you going to want to see me again, even though I don't want to kiss you?"
Oh, honey. Oh my God. My heart.
Because we've all been here.
Yeah, you're just not ready. You like him, but like you're
You're
not
not
ready.
ready.
And like it's true. Like society does tell
And
us
he
that
was like so nice to ask her.
Oh, oh.
At this point, I'm
I
at a
wanna
loss
hug
for words,
everybody.
and I stammer out some response about how I think we're looking for different things, and that I didn't think this was going to work out.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I was trying my best to be honest, and at the same time, I was just looking for something sort of casual since I'd be going back to school when summer was over. I didn't want to lie to her and give her hope.
I like it that we're laughing because we're so uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
I didn't want to give her hope, only to have her
Oh my God.
to tell her I was interested after I left.
Honestly, that's the most. He's so
that's-
respectful.
that's-
Like
it's
he's
right.
He's being so respectful.
Yeah, you get respectful king of the day.
Honestly,
definitely.
because like it would be
Always
so much worse.
honest.
I know it would feel better, but it would be so much worse if you made her think that like
it's the right decision.
Yeah, if you made her think
God.
that there was something there and got her to be physical and then was like deuces.
Yeah. In the moment, it's uncomfortable. You feel sad. You feel a little gutted or whatever. But it's easier to get over that than assuming somebody's into you.
Yeah.
And then like turning around like however many dates later and you're like, but are you?
Yeah.
Don't know anything about that.
Yeah. What's that like? That is the worst. That was when I was dating. That was the thing that always hit me the hardest was dating guys, them acting super interested. And then suddenly it's like
falling off.
You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm so, it's the confusion.
I would rather
like,
someone be straightforward.
Just let me
for
fucking know.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Like I've definitely been direct when you recognize patterns in communication or something when you're like, oh, okay, we're used to doing this. And then all of a sudden like drop off. I'm like, yeah, we don't need to play this. Like 37 years old. That's how old I am. Grown adult. I pay my bills.
Yep.
I grocery shop.
Check.
All these
you go
things.
to work.
I go to work.
Live your life
And
as
guess
an adult.
what? I can
female.
say, I'm so sorry. I'm just really not feeling this.
Yeah. Not interested.
It sucks.
Better luck
it's
next time.
awkward. But it's so much better.
Yep.
So much better to do that.
Yeah. After I finished speaking, she's just looking straight ahead at the TV, still trying her best not to cry. And I have no idea what to say since comforting words didn't seem appropriate given the conversation we just had. So I just said I was going to leave. I walked downstairs and her roommates are still there on the couch. I immediately feel a sense of urgency to get out of there. As
You gotta put your shoes back on.
The roommate
You're like,
crying upstairs and had only been in the apartment for about 30 minutes total. I put on my best fake smile and say how nice it was to meet all of them.
It's the most 21-year-old story
ever. All the while trying to tie my shoes as fast as possible.
No, you go out. You tie your shoes outside.
Your hands are shaking. You're like,
it's like you're defusing a bomb.
Got the yellow wire, not the red wire, yellow wire.
No, I mean, honestly, at that point, you slide your feet into your shoes. You get out.
Yep.
You can tie your shoes in the car.
Yeah.
Go,
You know what?
go.
You just carry your shoes out.
Yeah, you know what? I'll just take these. It's fine.
Cool. You're like, because here's what the roommates are thinking. Oh, only 30 minutes? Yeah. That was quick.
That was quick.
That was fast.
I mean, but I would assume that the roommates know their roommate well enough to be like, she's not trying to fuck, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know.
I left and drove home without issue. And over the next few days, my date and I texted a bit and were able to leave things on a relatively good terms.
Oh,
that's
nice.
That's a good happy ending. But I mean, God, there's so many feelings in that story because like she was ready to cry because she thought that somebody wouldn't like her because she wouldn't kiss them. You know what I mean? Like that is so like
sweet and innocent.
Honey, I know it is. I love it.
Okay. All right.
I'm here for this crazy in love.
So this is very unusual. It's a very unusual crazy in love for us and for this show. I was going to do something more like along the lines of what we usually do because I had been watching Snapped and I was going to pull something out of the Snapped arsenal. And then when I went to go find the episode, I was having trouble finding it. So I was like, you know what? I heard this story on Criminal a while ago.
I fucking love Criminal.
And I fucking love Criminal. And I was like, you know what? That's a really unique crazy in love story that we don't typically do on the show. So, okay. So Phillip Benight met Becky Golden in 1998 when he was working in a clothing store in Washington, D.C. He was 42 and she was 54. And I get the impression, you know where this is going. I get the impression that he wasn't opposed to dating women, but he had dated men mostly in the past. Okay. And his relationship with Becky was like a kind of like soul connection. Like that's how it felt to me. It was like friendship on fire kind of like relationship. Yeah. So she actually asked him out and they hit it off immediately. And
start crying.
She's outgoing. She's so full of like life and curiosity and she's like so much fun. And they immediately like, she kind of like sparks this interest in like adventure with him. They end up like going across the country together. They go to like 29 states. He gets her or she gets him a Chihuahua. They take the dog with them and they travel like all across the country.
I mean, this sounds like perfection.
Yeah,
it is.
lovely.
And you hear him describe it and you're like, I mean, it's incredible. Yeah.
So they went out a lot together. They went dancing, they went to museums. They were like, you know, they did a shit ton more than I ever do. Like me and Anthony sit on the couch 90% of the time. So like this is amazing to me. And at some point they end up moving in together. And you know, the relationship seems like, I don't know if it's completely platonic or not, but it definitely seems like they were more like best friends. Like,
right.
You know, and they'd been living together for some time when Becky in 2005 gets throat cancer. Oh. So the two get married so that Becky can go on Phil's health insurance. And at this point, they're both bus drivers because they wanted to be bus drivers so that they could have the summers free to like travel and stuff together.
Freedoms.
And he says that they had everything that mattered. They had commitment, they had friendship, and they had trust. And she actually, even though this seems like an unusual marriage, she changes her last name to Benight because she thinks that he's the only person who truly like loves her. Aww. So she does change her last name. Aww. And Becky ends up at one point having a 6-hour surgery that leaves her unable to speak. So she couldn't call out to him when she needed anything. So he slept on the floor in her bedroom so that if she woke up in the middle of the night and she needed anything, he would be there. And they had a dog and a cat, and all of them just slept in her room, like with her, like all the time. I know. So a few weeks later, Phillip ends up having a stress-related heart attack. And their house burns down.
What?
All at once.
Yeah.
So
dude.
She's recovering from...
And I was just complaining about Mercury in retrograde.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
She's
legit.
recovering from throat cancer. He has a heart attack. Their house burns down. But through it all, like, Becky remains really, like, positive. And, you know, she tells him, you know what? I've always wanted to live in a log cabin. That's something I've always wanted to do. So they move to Lancaster, Pennsylvania and buy a log cabin. Aww. And she makes all the curtains to go on the house. And it's idyllic in a lot of ways.
Them.
Yeah. But then Becky ends up having a series of strokes, just like one after the other, and her quality of life quickly starts to decline. You know, she's just riddled with health problems at this point. Like she falls, she breaks her shoulder, it's just like one thing after another. She had to have her teeth removed because of the radiation from cancer. She's tired. Like at this point, like she's tired, she's exhausted. And it's kind of around this time that she slowly starts talking about like, she starts saying things like, I hope this next stroke takes me. Like, I don't want to live anymore. I can't, I'm in pain constantly. And, you know, it's debilitating. She's having to be taken care of. Phillip is taking care of her like all the time, you know?
I'm legitimately like tearing up.
Yes. So, I mean, at one point,
I can see where this is going.
At one point, she's talking like so often about suicide that he is driving the bus and he gets a text from her that says, don't call, don't text, I'm through. So he panics. He sees this as like a suicide message, freaks out, and calls the police to do a wellness check on her. And so they go to the house. They're like banging on the door, but she had taken out her hearing aids and she didn't hear them. So they get into the house and she wakes up to police in her house and like standing over her, and she's terrified. And what she had meant by that text was just like she was tired and she was going to take a nap. Like, so don't call me, like don't text me. And she gets furious with him because she's like, because she was scared, first of all.
Sure.
You know, and then also she was saying like, she didn't talk to him for a couple days. And when she did decide to talk to him, she told him like, listen, if it ever gets to a place where I decide I want to commit suicide, that's my choice. And like, you need to respect that. Like, do not call the police or anybody. That's my business and it's nobody else's business. And she makes him promise that he won't stop her if that's what she decides. And he makes her promise that she will tell him if it's what she decides, because like, we need to talk about it. We need to know that like, this isn't just something that you've had a bad day and you're deciding to do this. It's something that you've really, really thought about and like you really, really want. And you know, they agree. They both are like, yes, you know, you agree, I agree, we're on the same page.
Right.
So at this point, she starts discussing it more openly. And he, every time it comes up, because he's like, I just wasn't ready. Like, I just wasn't ready to let her go. So like, I kept stalling for time. Like every time she would like bring it up, I would just, you know, come up with something to try and like keep her to like hold on for like longer. And, one day he comes home from work and he finds that she has had another stroke and she's hit her head. And so he calls 911 and she ends up being in the hospital for over a month. Oh. And the doctors don't want her to go home at the end of that month. They're like, we recommend that you go into a care facility. We don't want you back in your home. And she's like, all I want to do is be back in my home. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to go back in my home. Right. And so Phillip was like, okay, well, I'm going to take you home then. So I'm
going to respect your wishes.
Yeah, I'm going to respect your wishes. I'm going to take you home. And she does need care. And he qualifies on his health insurance for like 16 hours a day of care.
That's great.
But it's like they're waiting for this to clear. So in the meantime, he has to take care of her 24/7. He talks about how he had to stock up on everything they needed, like all their groceries and things, because he couldn't even leave her to go to leave the house to go do anything. He couldn't leave her alone at all. So while they're waiting for this insurance claim to come back, he is at home with her all the time. And then when they finally do get back to him, the insurance refuses to pay unless Becky is in a home. And if she wanted to stay at home, they'd have to pay out of pocket for in-home care, and they couldn't afford it.
Right.
They couldn't afford that. So she ended up going into a care facility, and Phillip would visit her every single day. Every day after work, he would come to the care facility, visit her, take her out of the care facility for dinner so that she could like get out once a day. Sure. And then they would go eat dinner, and then they would go park in their driveway because she wanted to be around her home, but she couldn't, like, because of all of the strokes and everything, she couldn't get inside. Sure. Like, so they would sit in the driveway and talk to each other. Like, that was their routine. That was their ritual. They would sit together and talk. I know. And, you know, he would say, like, yeah, she would point to, like, flowers and like things she had planted, and we would talk about like the things that we had done and the adventures that we had gone on, and that was like their routine. So at this point, she starts begging him. She hates it in the care facility so much. She doesn't want to be there. And she starts telling him, like, you have to, if anybody can get me out of this, like, you can get me out of this. I just want to go home. Like, promise me that you'll find me a way to, like, get home. And so he does. He's like, I promise you, I will find a way to get you home. But Becky was so vocal in the care facility about how much she hated being there, to the point where, like, one time her son comes to visit her, and she asks him, like, hey, did you bring the gun? And like, he's like, no. And she says, well, that's too bad. Like, everyone knew that she like was ready to go. And so because of this, the staff put her in a locked ward. And they didn't tell Phillip that they were doing that. And at that point is when Phillip knew that, like, I'm not going to be able to keep my promise to, like, get you out of here. They're never going to let you come home. No. Like, they're never going to let you come home. So the two of them start talking and, like, getting things together because she wants to take her own life. And he is going to help her, like, help her do that. Ugh. So they make a plan, and they jointly decide that they're going to end their lives together. He wanted to help her, and he wanted to be with her at the end, but he knew he was in his 60s at this point, and he knew that if he did this, he would go to jail for the rest of his life. And he was like, I'm not going to do that. And she didn't want him to do it, but he said the same thing to her. He's like, this is my decision. Like, I'm deciding to, do this with you. We're going to make this medical decision the way we've made every other medical decision, like together. And, we're going to go out together. So, I know. So they seemed totally at peace once the decision was made. Like, once it was made, they seemed like completely like happy with it. Like, they'd come to terms with like, this is what we're going to do. And they didn't seem to have any problems with it at all. And I think like one day a week, she was allowed to leave the care facility, like all day, like the whole day. And that was on Sundays. So after he had like gathered all of his things and like gotten everything ready, he was like, next Sunday, I think is the day. I think that's when we're going to do it. He didn't tell anybody that this was what they were going to do. He just left like letters and, all of the will information, everything anyone would need in the house so that and all of his journals so that people would know like, this is what we wanted. We knew what we were doing. We decided to do this. So he comes and picks her up on the Sunday, and they sit by the river for a while and they watch the birds, and then they go to lunch together, and then they go back to their house and they park in the driveway. And he talks about how this is the fulfillment of his promise to take her home. Like, this is he promised to take her home, and now he's taking her home. So Becky had been sick at this point for 14 years. And so she had amassed a large quantity of medications and pills. So he goes into the house, he dumps all of the pills on the coffee table, just a huge mountain of pills. And then he takes like 3 giant handfuls and crushes them up in a mortar and pestle and puts them in pudding. Yes. Yeah. He puts them in pudding because she can't swallow well. So he takes 3 handfuls himself and like takes them to the car with him, and he kneels down next to her in the driveway and feeds her the pudding, like feeds it to her, and then gets in the car in the seat next to her and takes 3 heaping handfuls of pills. And they become unconscious. Like, he talks about like how he took the pills and then he looked over at her and she was asleep already. And so like he knew that like it was working. And so the nursing home gets concerned because they've been gone at this point. It's like late at night.
Right.
She was supposed to be back. So they're worried. So they call the cops to do a wellness check. And the cops show up around midnight and find them, and they shoot them immediately with Narcan, which is that thing to like resuscitate you and like bring you back. And then they rush them to the hospital, and both of them are in comas at this point. They're both in comas. And he starts talking about how he remembered seeing a light and how he was like, I was never a religious person ever. And I remember thinking like, oh, wow, there is a light. Like, there is a light. Like, that's amazing. And this is one of the saddest things to me is like, he starts saying how he's trying to like telekinetically talk to Becky because he's like, we're in this place together, and like I'm trying to tell Becky like, go to the light with me, like we need to go do this together, we need to go to the light, and then he was searching for her, like that's what he was saying, is searching for her in the dark, like to like go to the light. And he says when he realized like he was in a hospital, he was terrified, and he came up fighting, and he was restrained. Like, they actually like restrained him, and he immediately asked for Becky, but he'd been in a coma for like 3 days, and he just like wouldn't stop asking about where she was. And they were like, well, she's in the room next to you. But literally hours after he wakes up from a 3-day coma, police come and they arrest him, and they take him to jail, and bail is set for $300,000, and he spends the last money that they had to get himself out of jail, and is able to go home, which he talks about how bizarre that was, because he was like, I didn't want to go home. I never thought that I would be going back to our home. I thought that this was the done, end, you know? And so the judge ruled that he was not allowed to see Becky. Becky was still alive in a coma in the hospital. And the judge ruled that he was not allowed to see her. And his lawyer was like, look, man, like because he was like, well, I'm going to. And the lawyer was like, I can't stop you, like if you go and do this, but I also can't guarantee that they're not going to throw you in jail.
Right.
Again. So he is not able to see Becky at this point. And he didn't want to be separated from her. He never wanted to be separated from her. So like this was a really bizarre, he talks about how surreal the whole thing was, and how when Becky finally did pass away, it was just really surreal to him. And the order from the judge stood. So he was still not, even after she died, he was not allowed to go see her. Like he wasn't allowed to go see her body. So, he ended up being charged with assisting suicide, and the sentence in the state of Pennsylvania is typically 10 years in prison and a $25,000 fine. But Becky's son and her like cousins and like several other family members like testified in his defense. Like they came forward saying that Phillip was just carrying out Becky's wishes, and that she didn't want to live that way, and that she had been very vocal for a very long time about wanting to commit suicide, and that he would never do anything to hurt her. And that they were sure that this was what she wanted.
Absolutely.
And so the judge ended up being really lenient on him and sentenced him to 6 months house arrest and 5 years probation. And he talks about how like strange it is to be in that house, and how he's selling it partially because he can't afford it anymore.
Sure.
But also because he says something really like, you know, poignant, which is that like, we don't get to choose the memories that we keep. You know, I don't get to choose in this house, like which memories like are good or bad that I get to keep. And if I go somewhere else, like maybe my memories of like Becky will be sweeter, because I'll be able to like decide which ones I get to keep. So yeah, that's their story.
I had to literally pull my car over because I was incapable of driving. I was sobbing at this episode.
Yeah, it's
sobbing.
I mean, yeah,
it is legitimately one of the most moving. Hearing him tell his story and the respectful way that this podcast displayed it, because it's not
amazing.
Phoebe Judge is incredible. That was honestly like, I mean, it's the most human thing. Yeah. It makes you feel all the things, because it was like the truest love story I've possibly ever heard in my life. It is, I mean, like you said, like who knows, you know, what their like quote unquote sexual component was, but it was not important.
It didn't matter at all.
These two people loved each other more than I've ever seen or heard.
It was like the purest love. I mean, because they only had, 6 quote unquote good years together before like her illnesses started really taking over, but they were together for like 20 years, so, and never once did it seem like a burden. No. Like when he was talking about taking care of her, or the things that he had to do to make sure she was okay, like never just once, or even his decision to go with her, like none of it seemed like he resented her at all. Like it was just, they loved each other like that, like, and they wanted to be together. They didn't want to be separated from each other. They were home for each other, I think is like what that was. And so
you've got to listen to that episode. Honestly, it is so I think it's called moving.
Phillip and Becky, and it came out in May. Yeah, it came out in May, so you can go back and
somewhat recent
and find it. Yeah, somewhat recent. And so I knew that like
sweet story.
It is a crazy in love, but like in a good way. It's like you want to find somebody that's like, I mean, it's definition ride or die.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. And also I just think it like brings up such an interesting question about like, people should be allowed to have their dignity in whatever way they feel like
absolutely
they need that, Yeah. And I can just, she felt like she had lost her autonomy and like her dignity, and like he wanted to give that back to her.
Yeah. Yeah. In that one final way.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Well done.
No doubt.
As soon as you said the first thing, I was like,
Oh my
God, I'm
God.
not going to make it through. And I teared up, but I didn't. Oh, I
Sorry,
had a freaking breakdown when that episode. I was like, no one's ever going to love me like that.
I'll never find a love this pure. Sorry, I was going to try and present it as like from a third party, like where
Right.
like you don't know if he killed himself at the end or
Oh,
not.
sure.
But it would have been too hard to do anyway because so much of it is like
Him sharing.
him sharing like what their life was like.
Yeah.
And
it's just freaking beautiful.
it's so beautiful. I know. It's beautiful in the most like tragic way.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Beautifully sad.
yeah.
Oh.
So on that note,
Wow. Yeah.
Now,
Whoa.
yeah.
way to bring the room down.
What are we watching this week? I watched terrible things this week. I'm not happy about
I got
it.
a good one.
I
I
watched
haven't watched any TV in the last like week. Seriously,
I watched The Great Hack on Netflix.
what is
It's
that?
a documentary about how like literally like we're beyond the point now where the government has everything on
Oh
you.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Every single thing. Your phone is constantly recording you.
Yes.
Like everything.
do you ever see that sometimes? Like especially if you're on certain apps. Like I know that Instagram does it, and
Yeah.
you'll like get out of the app and you'll see the little like
Oh, yes, the red
red
line.
recording
Yes.
button at the top.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's listening to you constantly. I mean, I was in a meeting at work where they were talking about how if you're watching the Grammys, because we were in a meeting about a TV show, and they were like, if you're watching the Grammys and you're on any of these numbers of websites and your phone is listening and it picks up that you're watching the Grammys, it will play the ad. Like it will show the ad.
Dude.
And because it's, and we were like, what? Like, how do we turn that off? And they're like, the only way to do it is to like go and disable your microphone.
Yeah.
But no one's going to do that
do that.
because it's so massively inconvenient, but it's true.
Yikes.
Bananas. So yeah, I was like really it was all about like Cambridge Analytica and how they claim to have at least 5,000 data points on every single person in the United States.
Wow.
Pretty much.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yikes on bikes for sure.
I don't think I've watched anything new in the last week because I was at home and I just didn't watch any TV, I don't think, for like the whole week I was
that's
home.
kind of what happens when you're back and visiting
Yeah,
people.
you're,
You're
like,
like out
busy.
and doing stuff. And
Yeah.
like, staying busy.
Yeah.
Chris and I started watching The Boys on Amazon.
Oh yeah, you were talking about
It
that.
is so good. It's really good. There are moments though that I'm like literally jaw on the floor, like, what is about to happen right now?
I forgot to tell you, I read all of that book, by the way.
It's so fucking good,
That
isn't it?
Beautiful Stranger.
Dude.
Woo!
What is that?
Woo woo.
Woo!
Is that the
Choo-choo.
romance
the
novel?
All
romance
aboard.
novel? All aboard.
Ooh.
I told you.
For
Beautiful
reals.
Stranger. Okay, well now I feel left out. Now I need to
Yep.
read it.
Yeah. I mean, it's quick read. It's definitely brain candy.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I was like, I like this candy. This
It-
is
Delicious.
delish.
Yes.
Spicy.
It's not.
All
It's not
right.
that cheap mints that your grandma got.
No.
It's a good candy.
This is what is
This
that?
isn't the
Ferrero
bulk.
Rocher? Or
This isn't bulk candy that you get like the scoop out. You know, people
No.
got hands in it.
No, I was like, whoo, it's very, very nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Definitely
good.
worth $8. I was
yeah.
like, I got my $8 worth.
Yeah.
And
oh
then
yeah,
some.
and then some. Yeah,
Did you guys remember
and then the rabbit took
someone?
care of the rest.
I was gonna say the person who left that review for that like sex toy.
Oh, I
Yes.
have it. I
Did
bought
you,
it.
Did you buy it?
It's good.
Yes.
Is it as good as they say?
Ladies.
Oh.
Oh shit.
I've had vibrators before.
Okay.
I've done lots of things down there
Yeah. Oh yeah.
to play
As
around.
we do.
This thing
Yeah.
is unfucking believable.
Really?
This thing makes me realize we put a man on the moon.
Oh shit!
Like the
You're like, this is
engineering feat
technology.
of it. First of all, I got the one that it's the one that we saw the review for. So it's like bendy and it keeps its shape. So you
Yep.
put
And
something
it has
in
suction on it, right?
and it has the suction.
Oh god!
So you put something in and it's got two. So it like
Oh.
it's like here and then it's here and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Dude, I'd be done in 3 seconds.
Dude,
Oh, shit.
I made a mess.
Cut out that screen.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Immediately, if not sooner.
You're like,
And then I was like, it's almost like too much at one point. You're like, I can't anymore.
Well, that's what that review was. That's what that review was, where she was like, I wasn't prepared.
No,
Like, she's like,
you're
it
not.
knocked me out.
You're not. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, shit.
Okay,
Dude,
well,
and it
we're
was-
all
it was
going
like-
on Amazon immediately.
It was
are we
like
not?
$27.
No.
And it's Prime too, so I got free delivery.
Yeah.
$27 fucking dollars.
Is it on Prime now? Can I get it in 2 hours?
2 hours. I don't think it's on Prime now, but yeah, I got it next day, and I was like,
yeah.
hell yeah, I definitely got my $27 there.
Shit, all right.
Yeah, and it's got
You're like, I pay $27 a day for that.
I mean,
exactly.
I'll do a subscription service. My God.
So yeah, no, 2 thumbs way up on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toes up too.
Everything's up.
All up. All up.
Oh my
Well, I
gosh.
think that's a good note to end on.
Yes.
Jesus.
Well, if you have any sex toy recommendations or stories or anything else,
Stuff stuck in orifices
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
Attention, Keegan, on those.
go to our one-stop shop of a website at myworstdatepodcast.com. There you can also get on our Patreon, join our Facebook group, and hey, if you got a second, please like and rate and review, or just say hi. We love it.
Yeah.
And thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
This is a Glass Box Media podcast.